Good afternoon and welcome to NCIA's Industry Essentials Educational Webinar Series, our premier digital educational platform featuring a variety of interactive programs to provide you timely, engaging, and essential education when and where your team needs it most. My name is Brian Gilbert, the Deputy Director of Events here at NCIA, and as always, I'm very excited to welcome you all to another edition of our longest running series, the Committee Insights Programs, today being presented by NCIA's Retail Committee. Before we get started, one last thank you and final note to our guests joining us for the Facebook live stream. We'd love all of y'all's participation directly inside the Zoom webinar platform. So if you're an NCIA member, follow the short link in that description to log into your account and join the conversation. If you're not an NCIA member, follow the Join Now link to activate your membership or the Register Now link to purchase a discounted pass so you don't miss out on the interactive elements of today's program. All right, well, let's get this show on the road. Today, NCIA's Retail Committee has convened a panel of retail cannabis experts to host a discussion of innovative retail cannabis marketing strategies and challenges. They've already hosted a pre-session clubhouse event last night, so I know our panel is ready to start the conversation, so let's not waste any more time. To kick things off, I'd like to welcome our moderator for today's session, Tara Coomans, the CEO at Avaans PR and Social, to the virtual stage to introduce our packed panel of cannabis retail experts. You can activate your video feed and take it away from here. Tara, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Brian. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Wait till you hear from this fantastic panel today. We have two representatives from the retail cannabis dispensary side. We have a representative in branding, representative in marketing, and an actual brand representative. So it's going to be a very full session today. And without further ado, I'm going to start the introductions. Allison, would you kick it off with an introduction about yourself, please?
Sure, thanks, Tara. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Allison Disney. I work at Receptor Brands. We are a Chicago-based marketing agency custom-made for cannabis, CBD, and the ancillary businesses and services that support the industry. We service a spectrum of clients from retail to independent operators in the space to brands, and our team is made up of experts from previous marketing and agency experience on the paid and organic side. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Allison. Brandon Dorsky, from CEO of Fruit Labs. Would you like to say hello to the audience, please?
Yes, thank you for having me today. Hi, my name is Brandon Dorsky. I'm the CEO of Fruit Labs, makers of award-winning cannabis-infused, kosher-certified vegan fruit leathers. We make THC, CBD, and non-infused fruit leathers. We're available in California and Washington, and THC and CBD in other markets. Also a practicing cannabis attorney based in California. I serve as of counsel for Hoban Law Group, where I provide strategic advice and legal counsel to cannabis entrepreneurs in the field of intellectual property development and management. And I'm very happy to be here and talk about retail trends.
Thank you, Brandon. It's nice to have you. Byron Bogaard, owner of Highway 33. Want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Sorry, just getting everything going here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Again, Byron Bogaard, CEO for Highway 33. I've had the dispensary for a little over 3 years, been in the cannabis industry for 20 years now, and also have a farm where I cultivate as well.
Thanks for joining us, Byron. And Gary Strahle, who actually convened this amazing group of people, and who is CEO of 3 Key Media LLC. Gary?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Yes, I appreciate you all joining us today. And I am essentially the Chief Growth Officer at Golden State Greens, in addition to Salesforce Navigator Partner at my company, 3 Key Media LLC. I look forward to sharing all the insights that we have for you today.
Thank you again, Gary. And last but not least, Lorena Schofield, Director of Operations for Lucy Sky Cannabis Boutique. Lucy, or Lorena.
Hi, everybody. And thank you, Tara. Thank you, NCIA, for having us here. Yeah, my name is Lorena Schofield. I have been working in the retail cannabis space for 8 or 9 years, and I oversee a multi-store operation in Denver, Colorado. So excited to be here with you all and share some insight.
Okay, excellent. Let's kick it off then this morning. Brian, if you want to advance the slide. Great. We're going to just do a quick overview of the local, state, and federal compliance challenges. Brandon, I believe you volunteered to bravely speak to this.
Absolutely. Quite familiar with legal challenges in the space. So, as you may know, cannabis or THC products are still federally illegal, but we are allowed to produce, distribute, and sell them in many states based on different state laws. And lots of local and state-based regulation impacts how any cannabis business can bring their product to market, as well as advertise and promote their product to both retailers and end consumers. In some of the more mature markets like Colorado, Washington, California, there have been changes, or there are restrictions that may be counterintuitive or are not akin to some of the regulations and restrictions or lack thereof you might see in other industries. It's pretty common within cannabis at the state level for there to be some restrictions on how you can target consumers or where you can put out marketing media. You typically have to target bodies of consumers that are at least 70% 21 years old or above. That is not a standard that applies to most other industries. Some states go even further. I believe the state of California, at least 71.6% of the audience has to be 21. You see many states enacting some regulations related to billboards and advertisements. Some states prohibit them entirely. Some states limit them within a certain number of miles of an adjacent state's borders. California recently had some hiccups in this area of regulation. Some legislation was interpreted by a judge to mean that it actually prohibited all billboards on interstate highways, not just within a certain number of miles of a state's border. Then you can have local regulations that are different. The local regulations often tend to relate to additional taxation. So they tend to have a financial impact and may impact where a business decides to operate out of. I could certainly go on and wax poetic about many different laws and state by state differences, but they tend to be on what you can use in your visual media, what you can and cannot say, and in what environments you can actually reach or target your consumer.
It seems like a good time to remind everybody to speak with your lawyers locally and engage your branding experts locally to ensure that you are meeting with your own compliance standards when it comes to innovative marketing. One quick thing I'd like to kick off before we get into Lorena's, I'd like to just share with all of you some of the results of the poll that we received, just so you all know where we're coming from. And Lorena's going to kick it off with organic marketing, and 72% of you have said that you have done organic marketing. 56% of you have done owned marketing and content. Those are the two top strategies that are utilized. So Lorena, you're in a great place to kick it off with your organic marketing, and I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, thank you, Tara. Yeah, so I mean, just speaking on some of the things that have worked for us and our company, organic marketing is, it's genuine marketing, and most of the time it's free marketing. So, and I feel like now with the state of the economy, it's more important than ever. Consumers are more strategic about where they're spending their money, how they're spending their money. So brand reputation is vital to the success of your business. Because one happy customer, they're going to tell their friends, they're going to bring in new customers that didn't cost you anything except really investing in your brand. Because I think it's really important to find employees that, be particular about who you employ, because those employees are the face of your company, and you really want employees who represent your brand in the way you want to be represented. And then in turn, investing in bud tender education and bud tender training, because that information that is passed on to the consumer, and it's essential for your brand and for your marketing, because knowledgeable bud tenders equals more sales and more loyal customers. So, take that into consideration when building your platform. And it's not only on the bud tenders. I think it's really important to work with vendors who also have strong branding and that work really hard to educate the public and the consumers, and also in turn educate the bud tenders on those products, and work as a collaborative effort. But having great bud tenders, because people are loyal to people, and especially now in this day and age, like, it's more important than ever to have your solid foundation of employees that speaks loudly about your brand. We like to do a lot of like brand collabs. For 420, we're doing some like art collabs with a couple of vendors. We're doing like t-shirts and posters and stickers and stuff, and it's a great way to increase awareness of your brand as well as the other brand that you're representing. And you can split the cost. It cuts down on a lot of the cost of goods for advertising, as well as just like splitting advertisements. You reach their audience as well as your own audience, and you can help to kind of cut that cost in half. We do a lot of like, because we don't have cultivation, so we really work to build our brand with the brands that we carry. So we'll do things like vendor of the month, holiday promos. It doesn't have to be a whole month thing, but every month we have our vendors of the month that they help promote the deals, we help promote it, and gain new customers simply from the vendors that we carry. And we split the costs, and it works really well. Customers seem to really love it. As far as like your online store, especially now with everybody working from home and doing a lot more online ordering, we've seen drastic increase in our online store traffic since COVID. But it's really important to make sure you're taking the legwork out of that in-person interaction, and you have a clean, concise online store. It has good product descriptions, good photos. That way, it's a one-stop shop. Whether they're getting it delivered or they're coming into the store, they have all their questions answered right there on your website. Regarding like online presence, so we found a program that really has helped generate our reviews, like Google reviews or Leafly reviews or whatever you're trying to traffic. And it's been really successful for us. We've been doing it for a couple of months now. But yeah, basically it'll just text the consumer after they leave the store and, hey, how was your service? And that way you can get good feedback on how the service was, how your staff is doing. And, it's really helped to increase our online presence. Having your online store on your website, educational content on your website with blogs and articles and anything that can help to increase your SEO and your foot traffic to your website is crucial. Social media is an amazing platform for us, but you definitely have to be very careful. About a month ago, us and a bunch of other brands actually got shut down off of Instagram. We were luckily able to get it back, but you definitely only want to use social media for branding. Very careful about the content that you post. We were previously set as a retailer, so we changed that to a brand. I'm not super sure if that has much of an impact on it, but social media is a great platform, but definitely be very careful about the content that you post. And I'm sure we'll be touching on that a little bit later. But as far as like product integration and product placement, that's another thing that we like to do a lot with the vendors. We like to have them come set up the displays. We even just started like renting out vendor spacing. And so the vendors will pay for advertising space, come in, set up the display, make it look beautiful. And then we in turn benefit from, getting discounts on product just to help create a more attractive shelf space and, just overall eye-catching. It changes frequently. And then as far as like product integration, rolling out new products, having like big campaigns, blowout collaborative efforts with the vendors that you're taking on. We found that to be really successful, just really hyping it up and creating that excitement goes a lot farther than just kind of throwing it on your shelf. Byron may have some tidbits to contribute as far as the retail side of things as well.
I think one of the things that I just wanted to just kind of piggyback on was when I first opened the shop, we couldn't really do any advertising because we were still going through a process with the county to see if we were even going to get the license. And so my business partner wanted us to do stickers. And I really didn't want to spend the money on doing little stickers. But after 3 years of having these stickers, they're now all over the place. I see them on people's social media. It's just been a great way for us to get our brand out there with a little bit of effort.
Lorena, do you mind if I ask you just a couple of questions also?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were talking about social media, and I think everybody's aware of how important it is for the cannabis world. And yet I think that a lot of, especially retailers, struggle with how to stand out in terms of that. Do you have any advice for standing out on social media within the context of the regulatory environment and Instagram's fussiness?
Yeah, we all know it's a very, very finicky subject. They will crack the whip very quickly. But, I think it's just, it goes back to that organic marketing side of things, being engaged with your consumers and presenting the things that you have, presenting your brand, even things that might not necessarily pertain to cannabis, just fun little things that gain engagement from your audience and, just getting to know people on a personal level through social media and, just going out of your way to answer questions and provide any feedback and, get feedback from your customers of like what they like what they would like to see, even like, polls of like, hey, how much flour is in this jar, just to like increase engagement. I think that's really helpful. And just like I said, just being engaged with your audience, knowing your consumers and like being there for them in any way you can through social media, through in-store. Yeah.
Lorena, who do you think should be doing that engagement portion on social media for retailers?
I mean, I guess it really depends on the scale of your company. We're still a relatively small company. We do have one person in charge of marketing. But I think it should be whoever you appoint to that should be somebody that represents your brand in the way you want to be represented. You don't want them, bad mouthing other companies or anything like that. You want somebody who is, if you don't have a marketing person, maybe it's your store manager or it's, I don't know that you should just pass off your social media login to any employee. I think it definitely should be more strategic, but somebody who knows your brand standards and who can help live up to that and grow that through social media.
That's awesome, Lorena. Anything else you wanted to add before we move on to the next slide?
No, I don't think so. That's it for me, unless Byron has anything else he would like to contribute to the retail side.
No, I think that's all great stuff.
You know, I just wanted to add, you guys, one thing that's worked really well for us at Golden State Greens as it relates to stickers. We did hats, and the hat campaign has been extremely successful as well. People wearing them everywhere, and hats and t-shirts, that kind of swag definitely has tremendous power.
Perfect. Well, I know the next slide here has some multimedia that Gary has brought to today's program, and he's expressed some interest in wanting to coordinate a screen share here. So let me stop the screen share on this, Gary, and then once I stop it, you can pick it right back up from me, and we'll continue to dive into today's programming. And then if there are any technical hiccups that you experience during this screen share at any time, let me know. Happy to pop back on and coordinate the multimedia. There we go. Fantastic. Well, take it away from here, Gary.
Very chill, very laid back, very friendly, very open. If you walk in here, you'll notice like a lot of the cashiers, like no one's like holding back to say hi, you know, no one's nervous or shy or waiting for you to come. Like we're very open. We'll come to you, say hi, hello, how are you, how's your day? I feel like a lot of other places don't do that, you know. We just take people in and out as they come. My name is Cruz Medina, and I'm a cashier bud tender here at Golden State Greens, and I've been working here for 8 months. So here we have the pickup windows, we have the delivery service, we also have the walk-ins. Everything's available from 7 to 9 every day. The delivery, walk-ins, and the pickups. I like to personally walk in, one, because I mean, you can see the product all yourself. You can just kind of choose. It's easier to choose as you're looking up on the shelf, like, I want this one or I want that one. I prefer walk-in, yeah.
I'm Shay. Yes, like the butter. And I'm a bud tender here at Golden State Greens, and I basically just do my best to help out anyone who comes in. Well, at Golden State Greens, we're kind of the OG of dispensaries. We've been here for around 10 years. We're very so much about the community. We love Ocean Beach. We do a lot of shows here, but obviously before COVID. We're very, very close to our clientele and to the community here as well. We're super proud of that.
My name's Joe Goodson. I've been here for about 2 years. I'm the delivery manager as well as the pickup manager. We're actually unique in that we have our own fleet of cars. We're all in-house, where most people use third parties and even pay a little extra for that. We don't have that, and we have no delivery costs. So that also separates us from other cannabis companies. For us, we have a few platforms. We have Weed Maps, we have Leafly, we have our own website, and which launched, and it's newer. You can order online through us. You can click on a product, and it'll ask you if you would like to order it, and it'll prompt you from there to order online. It's actually a very simple process.
As soon as a bud tender finds out that a customer is new, we never hesitate to say, oh, well, welcome, you know, and then after that, it's usually, are you from the city? Are you, out of town? Are you visiting?
I just want them to feel how I felt walking in, super excited, super welcomed, and just in an environment that they're like, wow, I feel really, really comfortable here.
We have so many options for flower, edibles, the concentrates. We're getting more into the rubs and tinctures and topicals. We don't always just go with the mainstream products too, which you'll see at other stores. We're constantly looking into the market for other people trying to show maybe a better product.
This is Golden State Greens.
And you are welcome here.
You're welcome here.
You're welcome here. Cheese.
That's cool. I like it.
Thank you guys for watching that. Just wanted to give you some background on that video as it pertains to our PR and social strategy. This is a recent video that we shot and produced in an effort to also gain some SEO results and really drive that narrative of being San Diego's best cannabis dispensary. And this is one of several pieces of content that we're putting out there on YouTube and on our website. You guys are actually the first to see it. That was the world premiere of that video. I hope you all enjoyed it, but I welcome any questions that you guys might have around PR and or social media as it pertains to producing content and statements and so forth. Did anybody on the panel have anything they wanted to contribute?
Hey, Gary, why don't you talk to us a little bit? Your video sort of covers it a little bit, but if you could talk to us a little bit more about your efforts in getting to know your customers, how you're doing that and how you're using it at the dispensary.
Yeah, we're doing many of the things, basically all of the things that Lorena mentioned in the previous slide. And through that and the customer experience, the journey that we've designed, really, we're able to identify various characteristics with different customers and send them personalized messaging at the perfect time. And really throughout the history of our customer service, we've been able to just identify common denominators really that we can build into our strategy and set ourselves apart from all the rest.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gary. We will be taking questions again after the webinar as well from the audience. So, oh, yeah, there we go. Thank you, Brian. So I'm going to move on to Allison, who will be speaking to us about advertising within the retail space. Allison, you want to take it away?
Sure, thanks. So yeah, I thought I'd take a deeper dive into display advertising and particularly banner ads. You might be thinking to yourself, you know, banner ads are the most boring, possibly be innovative about banner ads. Banner ads first arrived on the scene on our desktops in 1994, and in truth, you know, the fundamentals of them have not changed dramatically since then. But banner ads and display marketing is becoming more and more accessible to cannabis, thanks to a lot of emerging media suppliers in the industry. There's vetting happening on the site and publisher side that allows cannabis to target their audience in a way where they can run advertising on industry sites and third-party listing sites, but also on mainstream publishers and destinations. And as cannabis starts to compete with other advertising in those more mainstream channels, it's important to remember that we're served on average 17,000 banner ads a month, and the average person spends only 1.3 seconds looking at your banner ads. So while they might be a fairly basic ad unit, you're really fighting for attention with every unit that you serve. If you could go to the next slide. So starting with some best practices to make sure that that media buy is working as hard for you as it can, even practicing some of the basics in terms of creating an effective banner ad can help you get more return for that investment. So a few things to remember: keep it simple. Keep your message single-minded. Again, 1.3 seconds to look at what is essentially a digital billboard. What's the one thing that you want consumers to take away when they see it, or your potential customers if you're in the B2B space? And make sure you have a clear call to action. If people do engage with your unit because you've successfully gotten their attention and your message is compelling, what's the action that you want them to take next? Make sure you have really clear direction for what they should do to engage further with your business or your brand. Also, make sure you're getting credit for that ad. Do you have consistent visual branding, not only from a logo or for a brand name perspective, but also in terms of the look and feel of your ads? When they see something from you, when it's out in the world, whether it's online or at store or elsewhere in paid media or organic, do they recognize that that unit is from your business and that those messages work together? And then lastly, the great thing about paid media is that there's lots of opportunities to get feedback through your buy and understand, you know, what worked, what didn't. It's a very low risk way to A/B test messages. If you're thinking about different promotions or different products to feature or different calls to action, those are all things that you can test through paid media to help improve your future messaging and buy. If you could go to the next slide. So here's one example of a unit that we did for an outdoor cultivator in Southwest Michigan. As you can see, clear branding on every frame, plus a clear product message, one single benefit, and a call to action. This ad unit actually performed twice the industry average for cannabis, and we think some of these fundamentals were what helped make it so engaging for customers. If you could go to the next slide. But if you have the fundamentals of display ads and banners down, what can you do to make these units more engaging, more interesting? Is there an opportunity to innovate when it comes to display ads? I think that there is. So a few things to consider before you create your next campaign. What is your messaging, and are you articulating it as creatively as you could be? So there's lots of ways to say a simple message, but it's important not just where you say it and what you say, but how you say it. Is there a sense of humor? Is your brand's personality coming through? Is there some sort of emotional hook? What are the different ways that you can say the same thing to someone and make it feel fresh and capture their attention quickly? You also saw in the previous example some strategic use of motion. So motion can sometimes be distracting if it's overused or if it's not used to help your communication, communicate key aspects of your message, but a little motion over that call to action or a change in color scheme or some motion on your copy or a key visual, those things can really help make your unit jump out. On most publishing pages or websites, you don't typically, unless you've invested in premium placement for your buy, have that real estate to yourself. So you're often competing with other ads in the same space. You're competing for those eyes for people when they're there to visit for other content that they've searched for or navigated to. So that little bit of strategic motion can really help draw their eye up to your ad over others. Something else to think about is your media targeting strategy. So if you've got a great media partner, there's a lot of creative things you can do to make your ads even more relevant. So retargeting strategies is just one example. So if you're serving an audience who's seen your message before, how might you adjust that message? How might you serve a different message that might drive them further down the sales funnel or the purchase funnel the next time they see your ad? You can also geo-target. So imagine if you wanted to run a promotion that's geo-targeted around the footprint of your retail store to try and drive additional traffic through the door or to give people a little incentive for their next trip. There's a lot of different ways that you can target people based on the audience information available to your media partner. It can get as creative as weather triggered, depending on what temperature it is outside, all the way to the different times of day. If you have a really clear objective for what you want your campaign to do, talk to your media partner about how they can find the right people in the right moment with the right message to make that content as relevant to them as possible. And that leads to point number 4 as well. So media context. In addition to how you're targeting these folks, think about the environment where your message lives in. So if you are an edible brand, for example, does it make sense for you to be in endemic content about food or beverage or recipes? If you're a retailer, think about when people are in that shopping moment, what sort of content on the actual sites where you appear do you want to be adjacent to, so that you're not disrupting people's search for information or inspiration that they were looking for about another subject, but they're in that mindset where they're going to be receptive to a shopping occasion for cannabis and consider your store. And then lastly, I would just encourage everyone, if you're investing in paid media, whether it's display, banners, or social or anything, consider the total brand experience. All of these pieces, might be viewed in isolation for a moment, But as someone becomes more familiar with your brand, or as you start to increase your investment in paid media, they're going to see you in other places, right? So whether it's a sticker that was a giveaway out in the real world, or it was an ad that you placed that they see on their mobile phone or on their desktop, they're going to start to get a sense for your overall retail brand. And thinking about how your ad units set expectations for that next engagement with you is really important and can help start to build loyalty and affinity for your business over others, but also ensure that people are both engaging and understanding and processing those messages as you're serving them to them in the different places where you can reach them. Next slide. And here's just one other example of some banner units that we helped with here in Chicago. Leafly is a third-party listing site. Sunnyside, obviously a major retailer. You can see that they had that clear and simple idea, a little strategically placed subtle motion. And when you click through to their site, there's continuity between what they saw in your paid advertisement all the way through to their website. So it's that little banner ad that was served on Leafly is starting to set expectations for what the online retail experience is going to be like. So those are just a couple of examples of how to rethink your banner ads and your display media as you move forward and invest more and more in paid.
Hey, Allison, can I ask you a couple of quick questions?
Of course.
So, the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple crises in our country, in addition to obviously the pandemic. But how are you advising your clients with regard to paid media, banner ads, especially if they're programmatic, when there's a crisis, or how to handle that? What's your best advice these days?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but I think firstly, brand safety is really important. So as you start to invest and as the industry starts to spend more and more in display ads, it is important to talk to your media buying partner and the places where your ads are being served to understand, what is that content that is going to be adjacent to your ad, and is it something that your brand, even if it's inferred, is willing to endorse. I think we all know in cannabis communications, there's kind of constant vigilance about paid, especially, but just our marketing communications in general. So it's worth taking that extra step to make sure that you have that brand safety measure. But also, it all comes down to your business objective and that combination of message of where, what, and how I think that you're serving your messages. If people are in a shopping moment, it's going to be different. The type of messaging you're going to serve to them is different than if they're in more of a lean back, passive viewing moment online, where they might be reading more controversial content or having a more emotional connection to the content that they're engaged with. And having a super selly message in that place, might not be appropriate, or you might want to use that opportunity to align yourself emotionally and from a brand perspective with maybe that cause or that situation. So it really comes down to knowing, again, what's that objective? What is this paid investment doing for you? What's the purpose of it? And then how does that placement and that message match?
Oh, that's awesome advice. Thank you, Allison. I have one more question for you, and that is, I think with paid ads in particular, there's sort of this push-pull in cannabis right now around whether it should be product-based or lifestyle-based. Where are you seeing the most effectiveness, and would you care to weigh in on that?
Again, actually, my answer will be somewhat similar. I think, for everybody, nobody knows your brand or your business better than you do. So really understanding, what is the benefit of someone choosing your store, for example, over the dispensary, the provisioning center down the street. That's going to help you develop what kind of creative messaging you want to reach people with. And I think there's also an opportunity, again, depending on the placement and the purpose of your paid media, to do all of those things and reach people in the right moment. Again, if they're in more of a passive viewing experience and looking to be entertained or inspired online, and they're not really in that shopping mindset, that might be a great place to serve them with more of an emotionally driven or lifestyle or even entertainment driven message to show, hey, this is a brand for me. This brand understands my lifestyle and gets what I'm interested in, just as a
a brand that I want to align with. And then as they get further down into that shopping moment, whether it's on a third-party listing site or on your own online menu, or if they're searching for educational content, you can serve them with that message that's a little bit more conversion based and a little harder hitting to try and get them one step closer to a sale.
Thank you. That is awesome advice. Thank you, Allison. Okay, we are 10 minutes from our end. And so I want to pull in a couple, I think that's the end of our slides, right, Brian? Let's do that.
We've got
one more, Gary. Yes, okay. Gary Strahle, take it from here.
Hey,
and I know a quick heads up, Gary. I know we were a few minutes late in opening up the meeting room. So as long as the audience members and panel can stick around for a few minutes, we're happy to extend 5 or 10 minutes to make sure we have a Q&A portion.
Excellent. I'll try and make it as quick as I can here. So the question is, what is your data worth? And really, what does your system landscape look like? And how is your data tied together? What is your digital transformation strategy? How are you mining and farming data? How are you leveraging artificial intelligence? Are you making predictions with your data? These are all questions that you really need to ask yourself as a business in order to streamline and really optimize every angle of your business, including the marketing. But data is gold. And really at the end of the day, we're able to identify key performance indicators that turn into automation triggers. And we're leveraging technology to send these personalized messages, whether it be a text, an email, or even welcoming to the website if you're logged in and signed in, having some personalized information, chatting with a chat bot on the website, and capturing data from leads, customers that have not yet shopped but are giving their basic information over browsing your website. So there's data to be captured all over the place. And in order to maintain it, you have to have a platform that's going to be able to scale and handle it and integrate with other systems if necessary. So we're focused on at Golden State Greens, really consolidating software systems so that we can have a centralized database, an omni-channel database is what they would call it. And there we're triggering automation left and right, whatever it may be, whether you haven't shopped in 3 days, whether you bought a particular product, whether you're classified as a high spender, if you had a bad experience. There's so many different trigger points for us to remedy or increase our engagement. So with that said, really, we're wanting to make predictions at the end of the day. And we're going to be able to tell things like this person is most likely to not pick up their order, because we have many orders that get placed every single day and people just don't show up. So things that can be predicted. And in terms of relating it back to marketing, we're looking at the demographics of our clickers and our conversion rates of those clickers as they come from digital advertisements, social media, Google, and we're making tweaks in that flow in which their behavior is recorded, and we're able to optimize our performance by measuring all of that data analysis.
Okay, we spent a bunch of time talking about this yesterday on the Clubhouse, but I'm going to ask you a question I asked you yesterday, Gary. How can retailers tie this disparate data together to make better decisions? I mean, a lot of times I think you look at 7 or 10 dashboards and you're sort of looking at these disparate pieces of information and you're not really sure how to put them together. What's your recommendation?
You need to have a platform that you can build reports and cross-reference reports from without having to use Excel. And really, one of the leading ERP platforms would work. I always suggest Salesforce. I'm a Salesforce junkie. I am an evangelist because the platform is so great and with an ease of use for both users and developers and support. So really at the end of the day, you want to find a company like that that has that kind of integrity and trust, because if you don't have a hold of your data, it will have a hold of you. And really, it is a very tough thing to deal with, especially if you're doing it in Excel spreadsheets.
And I think another question that I think a lot of people are faced with right now, especially with a surge sort of in a digital presence for retailers, is how and what should they be thinking about in terms of keeping their data secure and safe? Any advice on that?
Yeah. So basically, you want to have, like I said, a trusted platform, whether that be in the cloud, or if you have an internal local area network, or both. We choose to back up our data in a couple different places just for redundancy. But we're generally sticking with what is own backup that is backing up our Salesforce data, in addition to Google Drive and Google Admin having the capability to just save unlimited resources into our drive.
Okay, great. This is a great time for me to remind the audience that are in the chat, if you have questions for the panelists, don't hesitate to drop them in here. This is your time, really. So I want to encourage everybody to do that. I'm going to circle back because we really didn't get a chance to talk to Brandon very much today. Hi, Brandon.
Hi.
So when we were talking yesterday, we were, I think one of the things that we sort of touched on was the Fruit Lab's use of in coordinating with dispensaries a little bit. I thought that was a really fascinating discussion about that brand dispensary relationship. Would you care to expand upon that just a little bit for today?
Yeah, absolutely happy to talk about our brand relationships with dispensaries. Dispensaries know their customers best. Here in California, without our own licenses, we don't actually have the direct engagement with our end customer. So we rely a lot on the dispensaries, both the bud tenders and the buyers, to give us feedback about what target clientele might be saying about product or what it is they're seeking. And we rely on that in adjusting our marketing behavior, as well as the future of our company. We seek feedback from people who support our brand on where we should even take our flavoring and what we should introduce into market next. And we value that feedback, and to the extent that we get it, we will come up with specifically targeted initiatives for a singular retailer to try and achieve better sell-through for our products out of their location or locations. And that might be a single day strategy. It might be a month-long strategy. It might be a full-on pivot that has no clear end date. For example, we've reached out to retailers that have been very supportive of us and let them know, all of our ingredients went up in 2020 and we're going to have to raise our price. We're letting you know in advance. Why don't you start marketing our product is at a discount so that the customer gets trained on the price is actually going to be greater, but they're still receiving it at the current price. They're just now aware that it's being discounted. And that's something that we started to do this year and has proved to be effective for us in educating our participating retailers on things that impacted our business, and getting their buy-in on, we're still going to carry your product even when the price to us goes up, and we're going to manage that relationship to your end customer. We hope we will also get feedback from these retailers if that price change leads to less customers buying our product, and then we will take that back and further adapt our strategies. And we couple that with data collection. So we look at dispensaries and use third-party services to get information and feedback on, what are edibles priced at in their dispensary, and are our edibles competitively priced, or are they perceived to be discounted or more expensive to a general edible product? We use really high-end ingredients. We use all organic fruits. We from a food standpoint, we are a high-end product, but we may not be the highest price edible in the dispensary, and we want people to try our product. So that's a constant balance, and we rely on the feedback from the dispensaries to adjust all of our in-market behavior, including our price.
That's awesome, Brendan. Thank you. I just want to make sure that we get a chance to answer this question from James and Byron. I'm going to ask you this question. James is asking, what's a healthy monthly marketing spend for a successful retail store? And then maybe we'll have some of our other folks weigh in, but I thought I'd try you first, Byron.
Yeah, I think it's going to definitely be different. Gary's obviously going to have a different budget down there in Ocean Beach than I'm going to have in the middle of nowhere, California. But I spend typically anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000. And I think the number is really irrelevant. I think the bigger thing that the audience could take away from is I try to spend 30 to 40% of that budget on organic marketing. So that's not the weed maps. That's not Leafly. That's not, paid advertising. That's more of like a sticker budget or a fun contest, or, just something off the wall, something different. And I'll even take suggestions from employees of what to do and try to rope them into it. So the biggest thing I would say is just whatever that budget works based on your cash flow and everything else, just make sure that it's broken out appropriately so you're hitting all the buckets, not just dumping it all into one aspect. And a lot of good information that I got from Allison today too, myself, even being on the panel. So
Allison, Lorena, do either of you have anything to add to that question?
I guess I would just add that I agree. While I talked about paid media today, there's a lot of block and tackle things to do, I think, at a grassroots level to sort of build your affiliates and your loyal shoppers. You sort of want to build that mass of people and consider sort of your return on those marketing tactics before you start thinking about paid, just to give people a sense. Typically to do like a paid display buy, and you can hyper target, that spend, but you're usually looking at a minimum of like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 from a media vendor perspective, not in fee, but just to buy the ad space. So you really, want to make sure that you are clear about what you want to do with that investment before you start to foray into some of those bigger paid buys.
Okay. Lorena, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I think they pretty much touched on all of that, and as a small business, we don't have like a large marketing budget, so we definitely do try to stick to a lot of the grassroots efforts and, collaborative marketing efforts that can really help to cut that cost. But yeah, I mean, we typically spend anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a month, depending on, what we have going on. But like Byron said, kind of spreading that out and finding what works. And, it does go a long way when you're strategic about it.
Sorry, I'm managing some dogs over here. Byron, a follow-up to the question is from James, is there a percent of revenue that makes sense for a healthy marketing budget for a successful program?
There probably is, but that's not, it's not something that I ever really thought about. as far as what that healthy percent. I bet Allison could probably answer that question better than I could. But I should know it, so guilty.
No one wants to take this question. It's a loaded question.
Can I jump in here on this one? It's really all about conversion rate. So if you're able to take some risk, right, in some media buys and measure it properly and track that traffic, then you can measure your conversion rate and see that your dollars are earning more on the conversion of whatever it may be, a click or a print ad, what have you. But really, at the end of the day, that conversion rate is the dictator of all marketing spending. For us, at least at this point, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars a month at one point in history on marketing, flying airplanes with banners by the beach and billboards everywhere, et cetera, et cetera. But we trimmed that back this year to see what would happen. And I just shared a link to the case study in the chat. And really, we've built around the returning customer transaction instead of so much of the new customer, especially since travel has halted. So really, we're spending significantly amounts less than we have ever in history, but our numbers are continuing to get better. So we're kind of scaling up for the return of tourism, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But the case study more or less tees that up, and I invite you all to give that a read.
Okay, great. We have a couple of questions. I just wanted to follow back around. Allison, I know you have to jump off, and so I'm going to say thank you very much for your time and effort today and for sticking around for a couple extra minutes. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Brandon, there was, when we were sort of prepping for this, I wanted, if you could just shortly share with everyone some of your experiences on Clubhouse. It's an emerging social platform. You've been using it very successfully. Maybe you can share some of your best tips and practices. We just didn't get to it safely though.
Yeah, absolutely. So Clubhouse is a new social media platform. It's kind of like a constantly ongoing podcast or live conversation. There's a tremendous amount of cannabis-driven conversations happening on Clubhouse on a daily basis. And it's actually a great place to find out information about emerging markets and learn about some of the people eager to enter into emerging markets. And it's actually a space where people are sharing some sort of war stories and some of their experiences of dealing within various markets that are rapidly evolving. It is, I guess it's young and not so regulated, and there are people from all over the United States and the world on Clubhouse. So to the extent you are having a presence there, it is a way to get extended visibility or awareness if you are on it talking about your own cannabis business or products. I, as CEO of Fruits Labs, have taken advantage of that fact and entered into several rooms where I've spoken about our expansion into the state of Washington, which we just launched our product in Washington in February. And as you know, we're just getting off the ground. That organic sort of, it's not really hand-to-hand marketing, but ear-to-ear marketing has been helpful in getting some initial adoption and initial awareness amongst people who are steeped in the industry in that location. And we probably would have had a harder time reaching those parties or spent more money specifically targeting them and trying to get their attention without having had access to Clubhouse. So it's sort of, I don't know if I would say it cut out middlemen. There are plenty of people on Clubhouse that will help facilitate introductions, but in the absence of industry events and cultural events that we can all congregate at other than virtual ones like this, Clubhouse has been a great avenue to maintain some visibility within the ever-growing cannabis community. It's also a place where you can acquire some knowledge or at least hear other people's experiences and stories. So you learn a little bit about what has worked or hasn't worked for various cannabis companies, whether they're selling CBD or THC products, or now there's plenty of conversation about Delta-8 products as well. And so I found it to be an informative marketplace, as well as a place where I've been able to do some good organic marketing, just like I've been changing my background here. You know, on Clubhouse, you're basically identified by your image. And so I'm in rooms and I will change the image, and rather than use my face, show my brand packaging, so people get some familiarity with Fruit Slabs and start to recognize that we are a cannabis brand. Yeah, I have plenty of great things to say about it. The worst thing about it is it's only available on iOS right now. And so it blocks out, or it has historically blocked out some Android users. And so that means you're not reaching your entire community or demographic.
Yeah, that's a whole host of people that you're not reaching that are on Android, the single largest platform in the world, mobile platform in the world. Okay, I just want to give a shout out to all of our panelists. A couple people asked how they can contact our panelists. This is our contact information right here. There's a whole host of ways to contact us all with follow-up questions. Some of our team had to jump off a little bit early, but I do want to give a special shout out to Gary and Brandon, who are able to stay just a little bit longer and share their insights with our audience. And thank you all for sticking around for just a little bit longer today as we navigate this really hairy topic of retail marketing in cannabis. And thank you to NCIA for giving us an opportunity to share some of this with both NCIA members and non-members. Thank you, Brian.
Well, fantastic. Thank you, Tara, for facilitating and moderating such a high-level conversation amongst this panel of experts. Huge thank you once again to Allison, Byron, and Lorena, who all had to drop off. Really appreciate the conversation being so lively and energetic, and appreciate all the audience members as well for sticking around for 10 minutes or so after the allotted program was supposed to wrap. So thank you all so much. If over the next few minutes, we're going to outro today's program, feel free to stick around and interact with Gary, Tara, and Brandon inside of the chat room over that period. And if you have any additional questions that you wanted to pass along to any of our other panelists, make sure to stay on the lookout to your email inbox, as you all will receive a PDF version of today's presentation and can get all of their contact information and social handle information logged for further outreach. Okay, well, while we have all of your all's attention, wanted to give you a quick heads up on some upcoming Industry Essentials webinar programs that we have taking place in the coming weeks. Specifically, next Tuesday, we'll be showcasing yet another NCIA Committee Insights program entitled "How Your Facility Design Ensures Business Success," during which members of NCIA's Facility Design Committee for an advanced session covering best practices to ensure design and commissioning parameters set up you for operational success. As with all of our Industry Essentials webinars, this session is free for all current NCIA members and only $15 for non-members interested in participating. However, if you're one of the non-members attending today's session, feel free to use the code NCIA100 for a complimentary ticket to show our gratitude for your participation in today's programming. Then additionally, do note that we currently have over a half dozen additional educational webinars scheduled between now and the end of April, which are all free for current NCIA members. If you're one of the few non-members in today's session, please activate your membership now to gain access to this and all the other amazing benefits that are offered. Or you can continue to purchase those passes to continue engaging with all of our invaluable educational programming prior to taking a plunge on a commitment with membership. Okay, All right. And with that, thank you all so much for participating in another NCIA Industry Essentials educational webinar. A huge thank you once again to all the members of our retail committee, specifically Tara, Byron, Gary, Allison, Lorena, and Brandon for joining us on today's session, as well as all of our audience members and member businesses, which make our work possible each and every day. You'll all be directed to a short attendee survey after the meeting room closes. If you've got a few minutes left in your calendar, please take a few seconds to complete that. It will give us some really invaluable information to help continue improving future programs, as well as ensure that you're on the list to receive that formatted video recording first, along with it being posted in our members-only community platform, NCIA Connect. As always, we'll leave you all with this end of event credit sequence highlighting the 20+ member businesses that participated in this afternoon session, alongside some lo-fi audio stylings by yours truly. If you don't see your company included, that means you need to head to the cannabisindustry.org/join following today's program to join the movement for a responsible and equitable cannabis industry. Enjoy, and we'll see you hopefully next Tuesday afternoon. Thanks again.